Hey, thanks for joining me. If you watch my channel, you know that I am not necessarily into DC Comics, generally speaking, almost at all. And I've always said I'm a big fan of Batman like anybody else. I like Superman. He's one of my favorite characters ever. I like Wonder Woman. These are all characters that have existed forever, and I've watched them in cartoons and some of my most favorite movies in the history of ever. But DC Comics characters, is very rare when I want to read a comic book about these guys. Just not my thing. But, however, there is no denying the absolute fucking steamrolling train that is the Absolute Universe. It all started with Absolute Batman. It's been going for a while now. And good God, does it seem to be like it's just, from what I understand, what I read, what I see, what everyone talks about, is that this is the thing in comics right now. And what's crazy is they start out with Absolute Batman, and I've got Absolute Batman sitting in front of us. It's the collection of the first, I guess, main story. And I have reviewed the first issue in this, and I did enjoy it. Artistically, it's great. It's told very well, but I was kind of surprised in as much as it's just another Batman story. It's not that unique. Again, I'm saying that having only reviewed the first issue. I understand that the stories are, you got to take time to get going and really show what we're going to do with this character. But it's just another Batman story. It's just retelling kind of the origin of Batman, with the difference being that he's not super wealthy. He's dedicated, he's smart, he's brilliant, he's just poor. And he's also visually a giant hulking monster of a man, just a massive dude. And I get it, people are into it. But what's even more shocking to me is, again, I was like, oh, there's an Absolute Batman, whatever, but then everyone was talking about it. But then they've spun it off. There's an Absolute Superman, Absolute Wonder Woman. And from what I understand, they're all doing great. And I feel like I've heard people say that Green Arrow everyone's loving the Green Arrow book. And so I was at a place, a comic shop, and I found a copy of it sitting on the shelf. I'm like, I'm not exactly interested in, like, I didn't necessarily want this book because, again, I don't read DC Comics that much. I was curious about the Batman, but I've never been necessarily a fan of the Green Arrow. Again, I like the character. I understand who he is. I get the basic idea. But, I've got a channel and I should branch out. There's a DC Comics audience that I am not reaching because I review so few DC books because I don't have that many. And also, like I said, because the Absolute Universe is just cleaning up, there's clearly an audience for it, so it would be smart for me to dig into them, if for no other reason than purposes of having eyes on the channel. We'll see how that goes. But that being said, it is kind of interesting how DC just stumbled upon a massive hit, and then once it started taking off, they're like, oh my god, this is working, throw everything into the Absolute Universe. And I was reading something where I don't know if it's reflective of actual sales, but or maybe it's just someone's opinion. I can't remember who said this, but somebody was saying, like, right now the biggest publishers in comics are DC Comics and Image. Marvel's a far distant third. Now, I don't know if that's actually factually true or just kind of like a relevancy. Like, the general consciousness understands it of what Marvel is and has been, but what they're doing currently is just eating shit. And Image and DC seem to be able to keep finding hits and making sales, and Marvel just can't seem to get it together. Does Marvel have anything that's doing really well? So anyway, all that to be said, I'm like, all right, let's give Green Arrow a shot. I did read it, and I'm like, okay. This is definitely written with a particular and specific political opinion and a slant on things, and I get where it's coming from. It's got a lot of good points that it makes, and it's just a comic book. I don't know. It's definitely well told, and artistically it's great. But just to start out, guys sitting here drinking, You could be like, is that blood? Oh, it's just probably wine. And so he's talking about, dude, what are they going to do? Anyone tries anything, they're going to end up like Oliver Queen. You saw what Hammond did to him. And he's like, you kidding? I wanted to watch. Least Hammond could do after I gave $300 million to that pack of his. Queen took my company. Yeah, the new guards are Hammond's personal stock, totally ex-military, like legit killers who've toppled governments. Okay, so you get the idea. They're talking about the death of Oliver Queen, which is one of those things. I know the basic premise of the original Oliver Queen character. He was a rich guy, and then didn't he get like stranded on an island somewhere, and he had to struggle to survive. And it's the whole like rich, wealthy, to-do guy has to live without money and understand the plight of the common man, and then he comes back to now fight for the common man, despite his vast fortune that he had. I get it. That it's a totally understandable. You want someone to have a life lesson that makes them more empathetic to human beings. Get it. So and again, this absolute universe, this is out of continuity. This is a different universe. So it's going to be more serious, more R-rated, so to speak. But yeah, this guy talking about the death of Oliver Queen, how he's got, security there. These security guys are badasses. Oh, except that suddenly an arrow shoots the bodyguard right in the head. They're like, what the hell? This guy's name is Jubal. He's running, drops his phone. He's like, no, 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 no. And he's like, guy's a maniac. Oh, God. So there's a bunch of other guys with arrows in their head. And then a voice says, Mr. Slade. So this is Jubal Slade. He's like, stay back, stay back. So Mr. Jubal Slade walks into a room. This guy's got an arrow in him, but his face is bubbling up. Like, is he decomposing? What is happening to us? Pretty grotesque. And then this guy's like, hey, whoever you are, I'll pay whatever. Like, okay, just tell me what you want. So he's being hunted, and it's a guy with arrows. So you're like, well, this has to be Green Arrow, right? I guess this is this universe's type of different departure. Most of the classic heroes, they don't just roll up and start shooting arrows into people, killing them, no matter how bad they are. That's not what a hero is in the traditional sense. But in this universe, a more serious kind of approach to things, that's what happens here. And then there is presumably our Green Arrow. The guy says, what do you want? And the Green Arrow says, an example. He's got arrows on his back. He's got a couple of bladed weapons. And then there's a slash, and then we cut to news reports. It says details are still unreleased concerning the death of billionaire Jubal Slade, a tech entrepreneur best known as the co-founder of the electronics trading platform Green Arrows Trading. So this is interesting. It puts it in the modern setting where all this information is being shown through like an iPhone or whatever digital device you have. It's a phone, got all the kind of, what is this app? Is this Instagram or TikTok? I'm actually curious. I understand, it's probably just a replica of kind of everyday stuff. It's just an interesting way to disclose information, because honestly, this is how most people get it. Usually it's like a TV screen. Older people are like, you get your news from the TV, but everyone gets their news right on their phone. So this is interesting. I don't know that I've seen this before. I'm not saying it's not been done, but this is, it makes sense. It's contemporary. So it's a bunch of news reports of and it's also a way to give an exposition dump to tell us stuff through different opinions of various people, news reports and just people online giving their bullshit opinions about whatever. They're like, Jubal Slade made headlines after his public feud with Green Arrow co-founder Oliver Queen, leading Slade to leave the billion-dollar company. He most recently became the subject of controversy after numerous allegations of sexual misconduct, of course. So we got a dude here. He's like, probably get shadow banned again, but anyone else sick of corporate media, blah, 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 blah. This guy is accused of doing multiple horrible things and rumors of trafficking minors to his own island. Oh, there's a contemporary kind of mindset. Cut to another girl giving her own opinion on social media. A local human trafficker with multiple rape allegations gets unalived, and you're supposed to feel bad. Back to an actual news report. Lady's talking about saying that Oliver Queen, co-founder of Green Arrows Trading, the stock app, his recent murder was unsolved, and now, less than a year later, his ex-partner is murdered. Guys, we really don't think there's a bigger story here. So, again, gives you all kinds of information. But Oliver Queen was murdered about a year ago, and then his ex-business partner is murdered too, and then boom, giant double-page spread. Absolute Green Arrow. The Longbow Killer. Writer, I don't know who this is. It says, I'm sorry, there's no way I could pronounce this without potentially just completely getting it wrong. Pornsak Pichetshote? I apologize. I probably absolutely butchered that. Raphael Albuquerque. That's a name that I'm familiar with, but I don't know where I know it from. It's familiar, but I don't know where I've seen that before. But the art's really good in this thing. So now, cut to a different scene, and we get the inner thoughts of somebody thinking here. So they're at there's like a famous person and a bodyguard. The thoughts are from this girl who's the bodyguard. Bunch of people with their phones up taking pictures. It says, this study at Berkeley found out that making people think about money by just innocently sitting them near a screensaver showing dollar bills has an antisocial effect. It makes them less invested when helping an assistant who dropped things near them. Another study shows people primed to think of themselves as upper class are more likely to take candy from a jar labeled for kids. More likely to take candy from babies. So, of course, we're getting into the, we're talking about the original story of how Oliver Queen was rich, but he had to go learn a tough lesson by, getting out and experiencing the world. Of course, the entire subtext of this thing is that rich people bad. Okay, gotcha. And some rich people are very, very horrible. But so are a lot of poor people. Whatever. But they get into the bodyguard here. Some guy shoves her on the back, says, "Get out of the way, you dumb bitch." Pow! She socks the guy right in the face. Cut to, it says, "Exhale, Dinah." D-I-N-A-H says, "Exhale, Dinah. Come on. You promised your dad you'd try talking to Dr. Green." So now she's having a video phone chat with a therapist, which again is a very kind of modern kind of thing that people do. Most people in comics would have a person sitting in a room with the person, but of course we're just going to have a video chat call with your therapist, which makes sense. It's very modern and contemporary. So, she's just going through her therapy here. And one of the things is that this girl, Dinah, she doesn't talk to anybody. She just keeps herself quiet. And the therapist is like, you're allowed to talk to your clients, to share your thoughts. Last time we talked about how this all might be connected to what happened after your mother. And it kind of stops, and Dinah's like, "You want to know my thoughts? I read online about this professor who studies social neuroscience. He found having more money tends to suppress the mirror neuron system, the part of the brain that allows us to put ourselves in someone else's shoes, to empathize. And why should they? The rich always get what they want. So when I worked for the obnoxiously loaded ones, I tried not to care too. I just shut up and do my job," which is why she's quiet when she's on the job. And the therapist is like, "And that makes you angry? You can't do more?" She's like, "I'm not. I'm just tired." And the therapist says, "Last session, you used the word numb." She's like, "Sure." So it feels like a pretty reasonable kind of understanding of the character's mindset there. And then, just more cell phone, visuals to tell the story. The therapist is saying, "Dinah, if you hate your work, you can quit." She's like, "Right, in this economy?" The therapist says, "Is it worth being miserable? You said you made decent money as an MMA fighter." So obviously this girl's super tough. And she's like, "Well, not decent enough." The therapist says, "Well, how's your father doing?" And she's like, "He's taking the new meds. Insurance barely covers half, though. But we save with me living at home again. And the bodyguard gig pays well. The world's got tons of rich jerks, so I suck it up for Dad. Of course, now I'm suspended, but there's this sister firm offering me some special assignment. No idea what, but I guess we'll find out when I meet this Malcolm Merlin guy." So now she's going to get another job. So she's meeting this guy at this, she's going to meet Malcolm Merlin, and, the guy's talking to her. She's, there on site talking to this dude, and the text says, your file says you're a former Star City Police turned Rising Star MMA fighter, Dinah Black Canary Lance. So I'm like, oh, okay, this is the Black Canary. I knew the name Dinah. I hope I'm saying that right. I mean, that's what it is. I don't know if I've ever heard that name before. Dinah Lance. It's Black Canary. Okay, got it. Turned Executive Protection Specialist. Quite the path, he says. So then it gets into her thoughts. She's like, this promotion to this firm, they're offering her a lot of money to protect one of America's most loathed men. This guy, Tyler Pharmaceuticals, made billions covering up the highly addictive nature of their opioid-based meds, resulting in 1 million deaths and 5 times as many addictions, a class action lawsuit. But CEO Reese Tyler filed for bankruptcy, letting his billionaire friend Hector Hammond buy out his assets and install Tyler as the new head of Hammond Pharmaceuticals. Tyler avoided a settlement and profited off the lawsuit. The rich bailing out the rich. Okay. She's like, Mr. Merlin, you want me protecting him? I got suspended guarding a pop star. And the guy says, Ms. Lance, did you talk to Oliver Queen before he died, or Jubal Slade? She's like, what? Geez, I haven't talked to either of those guys since we were neighbors. So then we cut to, again, yeah, we've talked about this. I've talked about this before, where it says 8 years ago, but when the colorist throws an entirely different color palette across the entire thing, it's to show that we're in a different time and a different place, and it works really well. And so there's Oliver Queen with Dinah right there. And so once again, Oliver Queen is sitting here talking about, he says, yeah, did you know if 100% of Americans want a bill passed, there's a 30% chance Congress will pass it. And if 0% want a bill passed, there's still a 30% chance Congress will pass it. And they're talking about how corporations can spend money on lobbyists and influence elections because there's no cap. Okay, these two are getting together, they're making out, and they're about to start banging when Jubal, the guy that we were talking about at the beginning, this guy here is this goofball looking guy here from 8 years ago. He's like, I didn't see anything, dude. I didn't see anything. They're like, Jubal knocking. We've talked about this. He's like, I know, but I think I've got a prototype of the app. So they're working on the app that they talk about years in the future will make them all super rich. And they're like, already, sweet. Dinah, did I tell you about the idea we've got? It's this, Jubal's the mastermind coding it. It's a easy to navigate stock trading app that doesn't charge fees the way online brokers do. And if we can add no account minimums, we can democratize trading. And then the goofy Jubal guy is like, all right, guys, I'm going to go back to coding. You guys go back to exercising or whatever you're doing. Don't worry, I won't listen. They're like, he needs to get out more, Ollie. And he's like, I've tried. He just stares at girls at parties and then comes home angry when they don't talk to him, kind of setting him up to be a creeper. So again, he starts talking about the app that they're about to develop. He says, with this app, it could give regular people better access to money. That's how the real change starts. Working the system, because redistributing wealth means redistributing power. Okay. We're talking about redistributing wealth. Okay. Socialism. Yay. Anyway, so it gets into how these guys developed their app and everything was going well and they were very rich. Everything happened. They got very, very wealthy. And Oliver was still trying to do the right thing. But then it says a few months ago, his dead body washed up on the shore, his head bashed in. It was rumored he was attacked on his yacht, but no one really knew. I inhaled every online theory. You do that when your ex-boyfriend's a murdered billionaire. And it cuts back to Dinah. She's like, because once upon a time, I knew Oliver Queen better than he knew himself. That despite his many, many flaws, he'd always be a good man trying to fight the good fight. So now back to her in the conversation with the guy here. Is this job related to Jubal's murder? And the guy's like, we want to increase protection detail around Tyler and my boss. She's like, your boss, Hector Hammond? Why does he think this killer's targeting him? And he's like, not our job, Ms. Lance. The principal thinks they're in danger. We protect no matter what. We've combed through every executive protection specialist in our extended network looking for anyone with law enforcement experience to not just protect the client but find the killer. You were suggested not only because you were police but because you knew Queen Anne Slade. She's like, "Would you think their deaths are related?" He's like, "Swipe to the next image on your tablet." And then there is a dead body. I do like the coloring in this, the very dark, heavy shadows, and then like the red kind of intense color behind it. It works really well. Police responded to Jubal Slade's murdered body, tied up in his penthouse, riddled with cuts and impaled with 2 green arrows. So this is the guy that was running. This is this guy here from the beginning of the book. The logo of his former company. In addition, his eyes were repeatedly stabbed. His fingers were severed with similar damage to his genitals. All the body parts Jubal allegedly couldn't keep off underage women. She's like, holy shit, these other files' names attached to these photos, who are they? And they have names Roy Harper, Mia Dearden, Tom Holloway. I don't know if these are characters in Green Arrow comics. None of these names are familiar to me. I wouldn't be surprised if they were. I don't know. I don't know who these people are. They could be nothing. So you guys can tell me. She's like, who are these guys? Like, list of suspects my team threw together, a work in progress. So he's kind of giving her all the information that she'll need to kind of take on a protection detail job. He's like, the details just leaked this morning with some social media accounts already celebrating it. And she's like, they're celebrating torture? And the guy says, a trove of leaked emails also hit the internet. It details 26 accounts of SA on minors Slade was never held accountable for. But Reese Tyler is guilty of none of that. Help us protect him. So her inner thoughts are, a man who lied to profit off millions of addictions and deaths. And these are our options now. Ignore the monsters we work for or throw watch parties for their executions. And so she says, I can't. Some of these other guys walk in. And so these guys walk in and they're like, whoa, is that Dinah Lance? And so this is this guy, what the hell is his name? We were just talking about it. This guy here, he walks in there. He's like, Hector, I tell you, I found her in the files myself. Oliver Queen's ex-police officer girlfriend is a professional bodyguard, while we have a problem with Green Arrow's obsessed stalker, Kismet. She's like, actually, I can't take the assignment. My dad's sick. And this guy who walked in the room, he's like, what? He's like, Malcolm, why don't you hand me your tablet, sport? So this guy, he's pissed off to hear Dinah saying, I can't take this job because my dad's sick. He's like, all right. So he takes the tablet and looks at her and says, so Sweetie became a bodyguard to help pay daddy's doctor bills? And she's like, that's in my file. I never told anybody that. He's like, no, grown-ups talking. So this guy's a douchebag. He's a terrible person. He's like, and I'm guessing your insurance covers half of daddy's bills, but it's never enough, right? But work for us and he'll never worry again. And she's like, really? He's like, except, oh no, daddy just lost all coverage. He can't pay anything now. So this guy just deleted her dad's insurance coverage like a complete monster. She's like, what? He's like, go home and check, doll. Go. Then take your selfie of your stupid pig face so you remember what a brain-dead cow looks like when she refuses kind people making generous offers. And show up on Monday and be grateful we're paying you. So, absolute asshole guy. Because, of course, supervillain, douchebag bad guys of the story have to be horrible. And that's a pretty good way to show how they're horrible. So it cuts back to Dinah. She's at home with her dad, and she goes on about how she feels terrible. It's her fault that her dad's insurance got canceled because he found out. He knows that his insurance got canceled. It's terrible. He's going to be sick. She tries to tell him that it's her fault. He doesn't believe her. And they're hugging each other. What are they going to do? So meanwhile, now they're back. Now they're on the job. She's got the protection job. And it says here that, which means I need to make money fast and quit this job because Hammond and Tyler are insane. Yes, those guys are assholes. She says for a month, they've been trying to crack the security of Ollie's doomsday bunker, his arrow cave. And on my first day, and I guess they're in this, Oliver Queen had like this locked up compound room somewhere, and they all been looking for it, and she was able to get him in. She's like, it's all just archery and man cave crap. And the guy's like, no, it's here. I know it. And the inner thoughts of Diana are like, hey, whatever the hell Ollie was hiding here, it was important enough for them to both personally come and look for it. We damaged the power lines breaking in. Fortunately, these idiots brought enough of their trained killer / bodyguards to keep them, keep them safe. Because, there's the guy, this is her and a bunch of bodyguards with the guys who are kind of the important dudes here. But then suddenly a bunch of arrows come flying out of nowhere and take down a bunch of the guards all around her. She dives out of the way, yelling, move. She's like, come on, protect us. So the main guy they're trying to protect, she actually grabs an arrow flying through the air, which is pretty damn good. That's pretty badass. She snaps the arrow, and she's, trying to protect the guy. She's like, you okay? He says, of course not, you moron. That thing scratched because it did scratch his face. I didn't catch that until I read that he said that. Scratched his face. And so he starts bubbling up, like instantly with like disease or something. And like she says, the arrows, they're poison. Don't let the arrowheads even touch you. This arrow here is flying down with a grenade attached to it. So of course there's the joke of like Green Arrow's trick arrows. Like of course the standard goofball gag is like the boxing glove attached to the front of an arrow so he can shoot and punch somebody and knock them out. The variation on that with an arrow with a grenade onto it, shoots it into the car, it detonates, great explosion shot, boom. And then there is this universe's version of Green Arrow. Great coloring, pretty intense looking guy, pretty creepy looking dude. She's trying to get up. She's like, get up, the killer. Green Arrow, killer, move. And so it wasn't until I saw these panels here, I'm like, oh shit, that I went back and looked. His bow is made from 2 sword weapons attached at the tip with a round, presumably like some kind of device that ratchets down and creates tension. So when he strings up a string on the bow, it'll fire. But it's an interesting visual weapon, an interesting idea to have swords be the bow and arrow so that he takes out like a connection point. It looks like, this pointy thing into the little round tension point of the thing to separate it. So it comes off and it's actually spinning, which kind of leads me to, go, yeah, there's tension on it. It's spinning. It's got like ratcheted down tension on it so that when he draws back, it flings arrows. Like it all makes sense. But he has these 2 swords and they're connected by the bowstring itself. Now he jumps through the air and I guess the string can magically like extend out. I mean, it's a comic book. Shit like this happens all the time. But he jumps and just throws the bladed weapon, cutting people's heads off. Pretty gruesome and pretty awesome. Says his form, his speed. Who the hell fights like this? What the hell is he? As he just runs around just slaughtering everybody. Pretty great action shots. Really like the coloring. It really gives the intense, like the fire, the red, it gives it a really violent feeling to it. It really works. So he gets, the Green Arrow gets up to the main guy here. He's like, you know what you did? You know what you did, Oliver Queen. And this guy's like, that wasn't me. I didn't kill him. It was Carter. So Green Arrow cuts his hand off. The guy screams, and Green Arrow says, it doesn't matter. It's time you all finally face the consequences. And Diana, her inner thoughts are, wait, was Hammond saying he knows who killed Ollie? So it's like he started to give it up. He's like, I didn't kill him. It's this other guy, Carter. And she's like, he knows who killed him? That's messed up. So she starts shooting at Green Arrow, and he jumps into the fire, and he says, next time, Hector, just wait and see what I slice away. So her inner thoughts are, how the hell does Green Arrow factor into that? And does Hammond know? Malcolm's list of suspects, Harper, Dearden, Holloway, is he one of them? None of them? So, it's like, who knows what? What's the secret going on here? So she's, taking her jacket off to tie off the guy's severed hand, like he's bleeding out of his wrist. I wonder how, quickly a person could bleed out with your wrist cut off. I mean, I guess if you tie a tourniquet on it, you could totally survive. Anyone see that movie 127 Hours where the guy had to saw his own arm off when he got trapped in the rock? It's possible. And so her inner thoughts are like, she hates this fucking guy, and she kind of smiling as he's screaming in pain. because of everything that's happened to him. Meanwhile, later, after the fire, after Hammond's rush to the hospital, Merlin and I scour what's left for clues. I think about how Ollie'd react to someone killing in his name with his symbol, because I still remember all our talks about changing things from within and doing the right. She stops as if she was about to say the right thing. Again, I really like the coloring going on here. It's really interesting. It's very different. And the art's very expressive. It's very scratchy in places. Like, I'm really digging this guy's work. The close-up of her face, and she's like, that wall, it's fake. And they're like, the explosion must have jarred it loose. So they get up to it. They open up a wall, and they're like, residue showed no one's accessed this opening in months, which means this must be what Hammond was looking for. The secret Ollie hid. The man who always tried to do the right thing by working the system. And we go into a room, and there's a kid in there. And it says, we'd later verify the boy's body had clearly been dead for a while, although somehow he's not decomposed. If only that was the strangest part. And so Diana's like, Ollie, what the hell were you up to? And so here's this kid with, like, I don't know if they're tattoos or actual eyeballs on the, like, actual eyeballs in the flesh. It's pretty creepy. It's like, wow, this is a very dark horror themed kind of book, which I kind of appreciate. It's really creepy, kind of interesting. And then there's a preview for a new comic book coming out called Superman, Father of Tomorrow, where instead of Kal-El coming to Earth, it's actually Jor-El. His family and his planet are dead, and so Jor-El comes to Earth. Like, okay, sure. And I thought I saw somewhere. Did I miss it? I thought I saw a cover for Green Arrow, Absolute Green Arrow #2. Not in here. Anyway, it's a pretty accessible story, starting from the beginning. It's very dark, very brutal, very bloody. Which I get, that would be the point of the Absolute Universe, like, get away, if you're going to make an alternate universe and kind of retell the origin of these characters, do something different. Like, we've seen the classic versions of these characters forever, for decades. How long has Green Arrow been around? I mean, I don't really know, but as far as I understand, he's one of those, like, old characters, like, at least from the 60s, but I wouldn't be surprised if the character's been around longer than that. I don't know. I know some of you can tell me in the comments. But yeah, do something different. And I guess when you have a heroic character, a good man, a good person, and you got to do a different take on it, kind of the only thing to do is make him just a fucking monster that slaughters people indiscriminately. I don't know what other version I would do. Yeah, and I guess you could probably tell there are some story elements to this. I'm like, of course, this is what we're talking about. There's valid points to it, of course. Anyway, whatever. I'm not going to get into it. Absolute Green Arrow. It's interesting. I get why people like it. I do dig that weapon. That is an interesting idea. Good job on that. Very cool. So I don't know. I'm curious. What do you guys think about this? You guys into the Green Arrow thing? Let me know your thoughts. And should I be picking up more Absolute Universe shit? I know a lot of the books are deep into their runs. I think Batman's up to in their 20s or 30s or something like that at this point. Maybe not quite that far. But I don't know. Should I look at more Absolute stuff? So that's all I got for this one. Thanks for joining me. Really appreciate it. See you next time.